Thank you, Chris. Although we are encouraged that no hyperthermia deaths in California have taken place this last year, an incident in Modesto last weekend points to the need for continued vigilance. This incident turned out okay, but it almost didn't. We're fortunate here in California that our weather this summer has been pretty mild, but throughout the rest of the country, that hasn't been the case. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has been spearheading an effort to work on this so the rest of the nation can also have zero deaths from hypothermia from kids left in cars. Here today from Washington, D.C. is Ron Medford. He is the Deputy Administrator, and he is a friend of California, as everyone at NHTSA is, including our Regional 9 office and Dr. David Manning. So Ron, if you'd come up here, we'd like to hear a few things, and I want to thank you for making the long trip.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Chris. We are here today to highlight an alarming trend that is injuring and killing our most beloved and vulnerable population. That is toddlers and babies being left alone in hot cars, exposing them to hyperthermia and heat stroke. Tragically, nationwide, we've lost at least 24 children to this danger in 2011. Last year, we lost 49. Today is yet another day that's forecasted to reach about 90 here in Sacramento, exposing children across the state to dangers of heat stroke. The danger is real. It is critical that parents and caregivers pay attention now to this problem. Any parent can unintentionally expose a child to hypothermia. Haley Wesley will tell her story about how real that danger is. She will share with you in the hope that no other parents suffer the loss of a child to hyperthermia as she has lost her beloved son, Madison. When it comes to child heat stroke in hot cars, one thing is clear. These deaths and injuries are 100% preventable. Our challenge as a public health agency and a safety agency is to pave the way for government, advocates, and our communities to put to an end this unnecessary tragedy. Based on a review of NHTSA data, we know that a majority of the hyperthermia deaths occurred because the driver's routine changed. We also know that almost all of the victims were under 3 years of age. We should never lose a child in this horrific way. Several states have witnessed especially high incidence of very young children dying in cars, including Texas, Florida, California, Nevada, and the Carolinas. I'm asking parents, caregivers, and our local communities to come together and protect our children. We are here to collaborate on ways to reduce child injuries and deaths from heat stroke. This meeting in California is the latest push in our nationwide effort to step up child heat stroke education and prevention. It is critical for parents and caregivers to know that hypothermia is a problem that sees no social, economic, or racial boundaries. Child heat stroke can happen to anyone. As we head into the more temperate fall weather, we must remain vigilant, as the temperature inside a car can still climb well into the dangerous range for a young child. There are a few simple steps parents and caregivers can take now to protect the babies and their lives. Never leave children unattended in a car, period, never. Always lock your car and do not allow your toddlers to play around an unattended vehicle. Make it a habit to check your vehicle front and back before walking away from it. Create a reminder system, such as putting your briefcase or your mobile phone in the back seat for every trip that you take. Set up a communications backup plan with your caregiver or provider. If your child is not at a daycare at a specific time, have your daycare center call you immediately. If you ever see a child left alone in a car, take action quickly and call 911. If the child is in distress, get the child out and get her cooled down immediately. You can view more safety tips for parents and caregivers at our website, www.nhtsa.gov keeping kids safe. Together, as a community, we can protect our children from this tragedy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Administrator. This year is the 10th anniversary of Caitlin's Law, a major tool in the effort here in California to curb children being left in cars alone. We have many of the first responders here today, and we applaud their effort and their expertise. Now I'd like to introduce from the California Highway Patrol, Assistant Chief Ken Hill. Ken.
Good morning. As has already been mentioned, and that we're all aware, here in California, we have a tendency to get very high temperatures during the summer months. But even when the temperatures get a little bit cooler, it's not time to let our guard down. We need to remain vigilant. During this past month, you may have noticed or spotted a CHP vehicle with a purple ribbon attached to its antenna. These ribbons are to serve as a reminder to the public that leaving a child in a vehicle unattended is against the law. More importantly, it's a potentially deadly mistake. In October 2001, in California, the governor signed into law Senate Bill 255, otherwise known as Caitlin's Law. This new law was aimed at reducing deaths and injuries sustained by children left unattended in vehicles. Very simply, Caitlin's Law prohibits anyone from leaving a child 6 years of age or younger unattended in a motor vehicle without the supervision of someone at least 12 years of age or older. Caitlin's Law, which is also known as the Unattended Child in a Motor Vehicle Safety Act, was named after 6-month-old Caitlin Marie Russell of Riverside County, who died in August of 2000 after her babysitter left her alone for at least 2 hours in a vehicle where temperatures topped 130 degrees. A child's body temperature rises much faster than an adult's. Even when with the windows partially down, the temperature inside a parked vehicle can reach 125 degrees within minutes. So whether you see a child that's been left unattended in a vehicle, or something happens by mistake, or your own child becomes trapped inside of a vehicle, do not hesitate. Call 911 immediately. Tragic can strike in a matter of minutes. So never leave children, pets, or anyone who is unable to care for themselves alone in a car. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Childhood should be a time of joy. It should not be spent in hospital emergency rooms. As head of the trauma program here at Mercy San Juan, Dr. Leon Owens has been a tremendous force behind the tactic that works best. He's also is the father and the driving force behind the Every 37 program. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Leon Owens.
Thank you very much, Chris, and welcome everyone. So why does this happen? The vehicle essentially becomes an oven. The temperatures continue to rise, even when it's in the 60s and 70s. What you see, and as you're seeing here with the car, is the temps keep going up, and the temps keep going up, and you have an oven that even cracking the windows doesn't make a difference for, as you've already heard. A child can die if the temp inside the car for any period of time gets up to 115 or 120, because children, unlike adults, don't have that same ability to cool themselves. Their ability to maintain their body temperature is not that of adults, and their loss of water is very quick. They become dehydrated more quickly, and heat stroke occurs, we say, when a temp gets up to 104. And that doesn't take long to overwhelm a child's ability to perspire and cool themselves. What are the symptoms? The symptoms include dizziness initially, disorientation, agitation of the child, confusion, sluggishness, ultimately seizures. Your skin becomes unable to perspire, which of course is how we cool ourselves, so the skin is warm and red, but it's not moist anymore. They lose consciousness, they become quite tachycardic, a fast heartbeat, they start having hallucinations, and then the children get away from us. We know that a core body temperature of about 107 degrees is enough to denature the proteins in your cells, so that this body will be unrecoverable. This person won't live. So if you leave a kid in a car that's 120, 130, they can sometimes, here in Sacramento, when the temperature outside becomes 105, they can get up to 160 inside the car. It's not consistent with staying alive. But the question you ask yourself is, how could a normal person leave a kid in a car? How could a person forget such a thing? And unbelievably, any of us could. All you need is a change in your routine. All you need is to be distracted. All you need is an emergency call about something that you had to run and go do, and you neglected to process all the information. And part of the reason we're bringing this out in the fall is because now it's the routine to go back to school, and the pickups and the drop-offs, and the kids need things, and oh, I forgot this. And it's all that turmoil that gets you out of your routine, that gets you to stop thinking about something. A child asleep in the backseat of a car, the truth is, yes, you can forget about it, no matter who you think you are. It's very painful. Well, you'll see how painful it is. We want everybody not to leave a child alone in a car. So that's just rule number one. The good points made by Administrator Medford about doing something that will stop you in your tracks, taking your cell phone, your purse, your briefcase, and putting it with the child so you can't make your move without reverting back to the child and having that button pressed for you. And unfortunately, a third of all the deaths take place when just a car is left open and a toddler, one way or another, finds themselves in a car. Maybe a door shuts, and the toddler may not know how to get out of the car. Literally trapped in an oven. So you gotta lock your cars to prevent that, because that's where a third of them come from. And if you somehow realize you can't find your child, run to your car, check your trunk, make sure that that's not where they are. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Owens. These tragedies are ultimately extremely personal, affecting families and friends the most. Each story, as you heard from Dr. Owens, is very different. Today we have two accounts that point to the real and tragic side of just what can happen. First is a mom, Haley Wesley. And Haley, I want to thank you for being here. It must be extremely tough. And if you'd like to come up here and share a few words with just what exactly happened, so hopefully other folks can learn from it, I think we'd really appreciate it. So you can come up here.
First, I'd really like to thank everybody that took the time to come out here today to listen to what everybody here has to say. And I hope you all leave here inspired to write about it and to help prevent this tragedy from happening to any other family. That's the main reason I'm here today, is to hopefully inspire you to all do that. Sorry if I don't get through this as easy, but it's important for me to share this to help prevent. I had a beautiful baby girl named Madison, whom my husband and I cherished and loved and adored. And there wasn't anything that either one of us wouldn't do just to make her laugh and to make her smile. She had the most amazing laugh and the most beautiful smile that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. She was so precious to us, and it's so hard to believe that we could forget the most valuable thing in our lives. But that's exactly what happened to me on May 18, 2007. I learned that your brain, just like any other organ, can let you down and give out on you. I think one of the main reasons it's happened is because my routine changed. I had to take Madison with me to my previous place of employment to drop something off, and I took her with me. You know, I got her all ready just like I always do every morning, and I packed her up and I got her in the back seat of the car with the rear-facing car seat. You know, I was taking all the precautions that a parent should, you know, and it's great that that got put in place because that saved several lives doing that. And so I'm very happy to do that and keep my child safe. I got to the place, which is about 45 minutes away from my home, and dropped off what I needed to drop off. I took her out of the car in with me. I was well aware, because I had been educated in knowing not to intentionally leave your child in the car for any reason. So something I would never have done, you know, I'd go to the gas station and I'd unbuckle her out. I'd heard too many stories of what Doctor mentioned here, and I didn't want anything like that to happen to my child, so I always took her out. What I didn't know is that you could unknowingly leave your child in the car. So I got her back in the car, and I drove the 45 minutes back up, headed towards daycare and my office. During that time, Madison fell asleep. I had put the canopy over her because it was a sunny day, and she hated the sun in her eyes, and so I was trying to protect her from that. And at that point, that's when my brain I went on autopilot, and I was headed back up to my office. And somewhere along the line, you know, I was coming from a different direction and I was driving a different car than I normally did. And usually when I'm coming from that way, Madison was already at daycare. And so somehow I missed the step to drop her off, and I drove straight into my office. Walked into work thinking she was safe and sound at the daycare. Thought and talked about her all day. My boss had a son who was the same age, so we chatted and talked about our kids that day. I saw her all day because, thank you. I saw her all day because she was the desktop picture on my computer. So it wasn't that I didn't even think about her all day, but whenever I thought about her, she was safe at daycare. I had no idea that she was less than 50 feet away from me, dying in my car. And that will forever haunt me, that she was that close and I didn't know. One of the hardest things for me after this has happened, and it's been about 5 years now, is to keep reading about it in the newspaper and to keep seeing it in the news. The same thing happening to other parents. And it's really, really hard to see it keep happening. And we need to educate each other and make each other aware of this danger so that we can prevent this from any other family having to go through what my family had to go through and what other families have had to go through. Right. There are lots of ways of helping prevent this, and you've heard quite a few of them today. The biggest one for me is getting people to believe that it can happen to them. Otherwise, none of these don't make any sense, or people won't even use them. Until people believe that it can actually happen to them, they won't set up these precautions to save their children. And this is happening to good parents that love their kids and take care of their kids. The one big thing that seems to be the trend when this happens is when there's a change in routine. And I just want to get out there that first we have to believe, and I need your help to help get out there and help everybody believe that this can happen, so they'll set up precautions. There's several tips that you've heard already today, and there's several more out there, and I just hope that everybody really takes it to heart and makes a difference. We've heard about tips too, but I also think it'll take some technology. We have technology in our cars. We have a beep that goes off when we leave our lights on. We have something that hooks our gas cap onto our car so that we don't forget to put the gas cap back on and lose it. And our children are so much more precious than our car battery and a gas cap that I think at some point we also need to encourage to get technology put in place to help save our children and so that this doesn't happen to anybody else. I thank you all for taking the time again.
Thank you, Haley. Not all stories end in the ultimate. Tragedy, but they can carry lifelong consequences. And now I'd like to ask Justin to come up here. He's here with his wife, Jessica, and they also have a story. Justin.
First of all, I want to say thank you to NHTSA and the California Office of Traffic Safety and to Mercy San Juan Medical Center. Good grief, I rehearsed this and I never cried once. Can I get a couple of those? I know I'm going to need some. And to Mercy San Juan for organizing and hosting this event. I also want to say thank you to Janet Fennell with kidsandcars.org for her tireless efforts to help protect children and for inviting me to speak at this event. Finally, I want to take this opportunity to thank my lovely wife, Jessica, for all of her unending dedication to our family and our home. Without you, we wouldn't be who we are today. When I was asked to attend this function, I turned and said to my wife, "How can we not attend?" And I realized that's probably not the first reaction that you would hope to hear, but that was mine. That statement wasn't made out of a sense of dread or fear or even pain. Rather, that question was born out of a sense of responsibility and duty. Most of you at this event, save a small handful, are here as a result of your career choices, backed with a well-qualified education lasting many years. You've been made aware of a tragic issue and are working to find solutions to solve this modern-day phenomena. My education was brief. My education spans all of 3 short hours. That's the amount of time that our 9-month-old daughter, Sarah Corinne, spent in our van 3 years ago, 3 years, 2 weeks, and 1 day ago. The goal I have for this event here today is not to have you relive that event with me, nor do I wish you to experience our lives since that time. I'm not here to tell you about the year after those 3 hours, when my wife was scrutinized and accused as a felonious child abuser. There are no words that can describe the feeling of seeing your precious 9-month-old princess literally moments away from death in the very place you put her to keep her safe. To see her breathe the same shallow breaths that my grandmother was breathing the day that she passed away. I can't describe to you what it feels like to rush her in the house, and when you're wrapping her in a water-soaked towel, to have the overwhelming thought go through your mind, I can't believe she's going to die in my arms. There are no words that would adequately describe any of the horrors and challenges that we've faced since that time. I can't properly describe the weeks in the hospital, holding meetings with doctors who say she only has 3 days to live, and mix that in with interrogations from well-meaning investigators and social workers. Nor can I describe the feelings and experiences of the last 3 years during this long process of recovery, when recovery seems to be just a fleeting fantasy. I can't tell you what it feels like to walk past her bedroom door not more than 3 weeks ago and hear her muffled crying and sobbing from not being able to roll over on her own yet. And when I open the door, I see her hand in her mouth covered in blood because she doesn't have control over her biting reflex, and her finger just happened to be in her mouth when she woke up. In all reality, there are no words that can express any of the experiences that we've had, and there have been many more since that time. So my goal, born of the duty of responsibility that comes with my education and experience, is to prevent anyone from knowing my experiences and prevent this education that my family still receives to this day. The details that caused this experience in our lives are similar to the ones that you've no doubt been told about and read about. My wife and I had a miscommunication while driving home from a family funeral. It was always my duty to bring the babies in from the van, from our 3 older boys when they were babies to our daughter. For 10 years, I always brought the baby in because they always sat behind me on my side of the van. This time, I thought that I had communicated to Jessica that she was to bring her in. But unfortunately, that's not the message she received, and she heard something different. And as a result, we each thought the other had brought our baby girl inside and placed her in her crib to finish her nap. Not once was she ever forgotten. But that moment of miscommunication, coupled with the fact that Sarah Corinne was asleep in her car seat, created a dangerous gap in protection that Sarah Corinne fell through. And it's that gap that we're here today to seal. Due to the events in our lives, I myself have had an audience with and made efforts to bring technology to a major car seat manufacturer that would help seal that gap in protection. But the challenge that they face, along with all of us here today, that must be overcome is the fact that good parents and daycare workers can't even imagine a situation where this might happen to them. Good parents don't just say, that would never happen to me. You see, good parents don't even consider that it could happen. Distractions and miscommunications are just that. They are moments and situations that fool good parents into thinking that everything is still okay. They already think that everything is covered. And education, while absolutely necessary and beneficial, cannot prevent these moments and situations. We know this because if you ask any parent or daycare worker who have inadvertently left their child in a vehicle, would you have retrieved the child if they'd been alerted? The answer, of course, would be a confused look on their face and say, absolutely, of course, almost offended, with great conviction. And then we get to think about the word if again, with added sorrow in our hearts. And for that reason, mandated technology is the key to sealing the gap in protection. I love a quote I heard from Jeanette Fennell. It's Jeanette Fennell. Since when did it become more important not to have a dead car battery than a dead child? And while I have this opportunity, there's something I really want to express. Mine and Jessica's circumstance with Sarah Corinne is similar in so many ways to that of parents like Haley, who have lost a child due to this gap in protection. But we still won't know the pain and experience that you've been through. We have the privilege of enduring her recovery process, challenging as it is. But we get to look at August 16th, 2008, not as a tragedy, but as the day that God saved our little girl's life. And Haley, we want to express that we're truly sorry for your loss. There are many times that I've been upset with God and hurt that Sarah Corinne's healing and recovery has taken even this long, but I'm truly thankful and grateful to have the opportunity for recovery and healing in her life. I also want to express how proud I am of my daughter, Sarah Corinne. Throughout this process, she's exhibited tremendous strength and determination, and I have complete faith that she will recover fully from her injuries. If you'd like to follow her recovery progress, we'd like to welcome you to do that. You can do that by liking her page on Facebook. It's simply facebook.com/Sarah Corinne Joy. That's Sarah with no H and Corinne with one R and two N's. I want to close with a reminder of how I opened my time with you. There's more technology in my smartphone that rests in the palm of my hand than we had to safely land on the moon. The technology exists today that would significantly seal the gap in protection of our children and those who care for them. So the question that you should ask yourself and your colleagues is not how can we protect them, but rather with a sense of duty and responsibility. Ask yourself and your colleagues, how can we not? Thank you.
Justin, I want to thank you and your wife, Jessica, and also Haley for being here today. I think you guys speak to all of us as parents, and I want to thank the media for being here and getting this message out, because as you've heard, it can happen to anybody. And I want to thank all the speakers that are here, all the first responders. And now the press is invited to view the demonstration car with the inside and outside temp showing, which is right here. And all of the speakers are here for interviews. And we're also having a town hall meeting in just a few minutes, which is over in Lucan's Auditorium, which is just inside the medical center. And we have staff that can lead us there in just a few minutes. So I want to once again thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the administrator for being here. You showing your support for what we're doing here in California, and our ability to also support what you're doing, I think really makes a difference. So Ron, thank you again for being here.